because sometimes I forget to hit record, and that's bad. And where the heck am I? So somebody's got music on. Who is that? I gotta turn my seat heaters down. Oh, there we go. Turn that down. Okay, let's see. Share a screen. Let's see if I can get this up. Just to brighten everybody's day. There we go.
Nice.
Yep, I have my lovely photos.
Are those your flowers?
Oh yeah, they're in my garden.
Nice.
Yep. So yeah, I know you guys right now are not seeing stuff like this.
No, we just had a snowstorm.
I was telling you, Zeke's flowers are so important.
Yeah, Zeke's flowers are amazing.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, flowers come up in his garden and they grew till late December, so it was really.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Is the truck noise? Can you hear the truck running?
I don't hear it.
Awesome. I got my earbuds in, so let's see. Where's my? Oh, here's the wait. There's the flowers that I brought into my front.
Wow. Wow. I'm jealous. I have flowers to be right now.
Yep. Alrighty. So we've still got 4 minutes. We've got 30 people on so far, which is awesome.
Hi, everybody.
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna put something in the chat. Where's the heck is the chat? Chat.
Yeah, I can't see myself on. Oh, there I am.
You can.
Okay.
Please tell.
Oh, can you turn that towards me more because you're blocking it a little.
So I've just asked everybody who's signing on to just in the chat, just say where you're located. Just let us know. Austin, Texas. Grand Rapids, Michigan. Another Austin, Texas. That's awesome. Quebec. Awesome. California. Wow, this is awesome. It's so amazing to see where, you know, how we can connect to everybody.
Yeah, it's great. This really relying on online stuff and connecting to people online is just, it's like you didn't realize it was going to be so important until, wow, pandemic. This all of a sudden is really important.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't leave your house.
Mm-hmm. Don't leave your truck. Don't leave your house.
Yeah, I know. It's like I tried to sit at the library. So I did see the Comcast truck driving toward my house as I was driving toward the library, but you know, I just couldn't chance it that they were going to get there in time. And
right.
But Hansha, if Hansha's on, that's your flowers that you gave me. Hansha's in Holland, and she gave me.
Oh.
Yep. So why is something bouncing there? Nothing should be bouncing. I think I just have. Yeah, that stuff on. All right, 2 minutes to go.
Okay, really.
A password. You need to go to the. You have to go sign, register.
That's better. Let's see if that definitely is better. I can put through.
Okay, because I don't know how to. Well, let's see. I don't know if I can find the. Oh wait, I can find the. Copy invitation. Oh, we got somebody from Germany. Oh, that's not the invitation. I don't think. Oh, wait, that was. Hang on.
No, that makes me very dark.
Okay, so if you've already done that, you're fine. Now I'm deleting this text.
That's best. Yeah.
Oh, I'll be deleting this for a while. All right, so if you're just joining us, just tell us where you're from, put it in the chats. So Claudia, if you already joined, actually you must have because you're here. I'm not sure what the issue is, so just put it in the text. You'd like to use your laptop, so just join it from your laptop. Just do the same thing. Because that invitation just gets so long. I need just, oh yeah, it's got to go through all the time zones. I'm just deleting this all out. Yeah, I don't know what, there is no password. It's just that you register. So, you know, if you just go to your laptop and join from your laptop, you should be fine. I have a meeting ID number I can give you.
I think there was a password listed.
Was there?
Was there? Yeah, see, I didn't see it at my end. They just had to register. So just re-register from your laptop is the best I can tell you. We're still all new at this technology. Your participants need to upgrade.
There is, when you do the invitation, there's a way to not have a password.
Yeah, I thought I told it not to have a password. Like I said, we're new at this technology.
Of course.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what I did one and we couldn't get the sound on it at all. And I did another and I had the wrong screen share the whole time. So, you know, you only learn by doing, right?
The annotation is disabled. Your participants need to upgrade to the latest version of Zoom to share their screen.
So we don't want other people. It's just you and I that are going to share our screen.
Okay.
Yeah, as long as they can see us, we're good.
All right.
All right. See, and I can't edit the invitation. That's the problem. I'm on a laptop now with no password required on my end. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Italy. Awesome. I do not have a password requirement. Okay, so it looks like people don't have a password requirement to get in because I didn't think I set that up. So, all right.
Okay.
So let's see. How do I get back to? I think I just closed this. I'm going to stop my screen share for a minute. That's my flowers. Move those out of the way. Move that out of the way.
Constant Funk is on.
All right, so if you're joining, please mute your audio. And we're gonna get started. So, hi, I'm Wendy Murdoch. I'm here in my truck sitting in front of the library because my internet died at my house last night. And so I've been trying to figure out how to make sure this meeting's gonna happen. So there's benches outside the library, but it was just too cold to sit there. So I'm inside my truck and it has an AC connection on my new trucks. So I'm really excited about that. I am so thrilled to have Sharon Wilsie join us for this Zoom meeting. And Laura's sitting next to her there. You guys just wave. Hi.
Sorry, people are wanting the thing, so I'm trying to rush on my iPad to get everyone their links
techie.
too.
I'm not.
That's awesome, Laura, because I'm just by myself here in my truck.
Yeah, you're trying to man this whole thing.
Everyone needs a Laura.
I know, I need a Laura. I'm working on it. So Sharon is the, so if you're joining us, I'm just gonna stop video so that we just have Sharon on video. Because otherwise we're not seeing the person we want to see. So if you can just stop your video. Yeah, there we go. Great. Where'd Laura go? Sharon, say something, Sharon.
Hi.
We are here.
There you go. As soon as you talk, we get your screen.
Yeah, I'm just letting you run the show.
I know. So I'm just going to turn. This is Sharon Wilsie. She's the author of Horse Speak. She's awesome. We met at Equine in 2019, and Sharon was there because her book's been translated into German, and I had a booth, and we'd heard about each other but hadn't met. And so
we were right across from each other.
Yeah. So Sharon came into my demo while I was doing Surefoot, and she was standing next to Brynja Rydell, who was my German speaker. And Brynja was so blown away. I couldn't hear a word you said. But anyway, so that's how Sharon and I met. And Sharon, I'm just going to turn it over to you. And if you would, please give us a brief history of who you are and how you got here, because a lot of people may not know.
Okay. So hi there, everybody, especially people I haven't met yet. So the concept of Horse Speak is based on research that I delved into for a couple of different reasons. I was an equine assisted learning instructor, and I developed programs at the college level as well as for a local psychotherapy hospital and other schools and things like that. And on the other hand, I was working in rehabilitation for extremely traumatized horses at rescues. So I was a rehabilitation specialist. I got called in for the worst cases. And I was an equine assisted learning specialist. So those two things made me go deeper and deeper and deeper into the horse-human connection on other levels. And I found that training modalities just didn't cut it. They didn't go where I needed them to go. And like most people, I read everything. I went everywhere. I watched everybody. I tried all these things. Luckily, I have a couple of really good-natured horses at home. And I was like, guess what? I got back from my clinic. And they were like, So I tried everything out. And sometimes I'd find a nugget, you know, something really useful. But a lot of times I was just at a loss for really developing the rapport between a horse and a human so that it benefited the horse as well. Not just got the horse more compliant, but actually added value and enrichment to their life. So eventually I took time off from my work to just sit in a field with them. I developed a sort of like, you know, you have the paddock paradise. A lot of people may have heard of paddock paradise. I kind of came up with, I was like, oh, that's a great idea. And I designed a walk about half a mile through the forest to a neighbor's field. I'm in Vermont, right? So some neighbor's back field. And so every day I could walk with the herd to the field. So I got to be in herd dynamics and then sit and graze with them for a couple of hours, 3 hours, and then walk home with them. So all of that, the movement parts, as well as the grazing parts, the herd dynamics. I had 3 mares and a foal and a stallion who'd been gelded. So I had a pretty natural herd. So from that, I was able to have some breakthroughs in understanding how horses communicate just with each other. You know, like if I'd gone out into the bush and I was just studying giraffes or something, right? So just how do these animals, what are they doing really? And then I reverse engineered that for how, well, what gestures and postures and signals could I be doing to have a more direct communication with them that's intrinsic, right? So it's intrinsic. So it's organically understandable, not something I have to teach them to respond to. So that's the basis of the book Horse Speak. It's what are the gestures and signals and communication methods like breath messages, eye messages, the angle that not just, you know, you can turn this way in a round pen and get them to do a reverse, but actually what does the angle mean to them? So that's a lot of information, but what it whittles down to is that there's a system now that I've been able to develop to teach anybody to some of the ABCs. So, you know, whether you want to dive in hook, line, and sinker and learn the whole language, or you just want a few things to say, or you just want to, you know, they're like, well, they're doing this thing. I can ride them and everything's great, but they do this thing and I don't know what that is. And I can understand what the horse is trying to communicate. So that's the baseline of it. And so I was at Equitana, and so I meet Wendy, and she says, this is going to be great. And she pulls me, she's like, let's go. And I'm like, I don't know what Surefoot is. And so we run down, she's like, hurry up. And I'm like, ah, you know, it's this huge pavilion. And she gets it, she starts throwing these little things down on the floor for the horse to step on. And she's like, well, it's Surefoot. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't, she's like, just talk to the horses. Okay. So, so I start saying what they're saying. And what was wonderful is that people like Wendy, who have intrinsic awareness of body language, she just gets it. She decodes it and encodes it real quick. She just gets it from the inside of the horse and the inside of her nature, because she's done this very specific work for so long. She knows what they're saying, but she doesn't know how to say she knows that. You know, she hasn't said, oh, because he tilted his head and took a step, or because he breathed that way, that's why I know it. And so many people like Wendy who are, you know, highly talented and can, you know, they do have this sense of, it comes across like intuition, but it's really just that some people's brains can decode and encode really fast and really accurately. And because of Wendy's research and her science mind, you know, she's got to decode and encode accurately in order to have access to what she's doing.
Sharon, can you just describe decoding and encoding a little bit more?
So decoding is the ability that the brain has to interpret a nonverbal message. And because I work with students with learning disabilities for so long at the college I worked at, was a college for students with learning disabilities. So on the autism spectrum, or they've got cerebral palsy, or, you know, they've got traumatic brain injury, any reason why there's a struggle. So I had to dive deeply into understanding how brains absorb information. And so decoding is the ability to absorb the nonverbal cues of the world. That's how you do your risk assessment. That's how you do your relationship evaluations. That's how you can tell I can get closer or I should get further away. So all of those kinds of core messages that build relationship, but they also give you necessary feedback. Like when a mother has a baby, the first couple of years of life, they don't really speak, but the mother has to intrinsically decode the baby's gestures. So she's got to know if he's starting to not feel good before it gets a fever, right? So that's a skill that our brains already have. And the encoding process is then responding correctly, right? So you could interpret something wrong and give the wrong message back. So with people like on the autism spectrum, they often have a real struggle with this. It's particularly something that's difficult. So they have to learn systems of decoding and encoding that are very mechanical to us, but to them, they have to go through this very specific gesture definition. And I worked with a lot of students who were taking courses in it, not just facial recognition, but gesture recognition as well. So for horses, because they don't have hands and they're long and they have a long head, but they actually make facial suggestions that are so similar to humans because we have one thing in common, which is our mouths have prehensile capabilities. So we can do all this stuff. Dogs and cats have fixed lips because they have fangs. So even though we see a round head with two eyes and a mouth, it's similar to ours. So we intrinsically want to connect to cats and dogs, but they can't make the mouth and nose and chin gestures that a horse can make. And horses and humans, now I know because I've studied it, make almost identical messages with their mouth, their nostrils, their chin. And then you add things like the height of the head. So if you say, oh, I'm startled, you might go, oh, like this. Well, it's the same, they do the same gesture. And if you're feeling relaxed, you're like, oh, or if you think something's cute, ooh, and you make this. And so when horses come up to you and they're going, ooh, they're kind of going, are you cute? And we sort of have a response to that, which is to go, oh my God, I love you. Come on into my bubble.
And they're like, bye.
And then, or they just are like, yeah, you got a treat.
Yeah.
So understanding how to read some of the basics gives you, extends your ability to be effective because
Right.
you can do minimal things and have a lot of impact. And that's what I really loved about your work is in the Surefoot pads. And I still love it. I still sing your praises when I'm working. Because I'll say to someone, this is where you enter Surefoot here, because the horses are able to express so much about how this is affecting them, and that's what we got to do in Germany.
Right. So I'm just going to screen share a little video of a horse. And I mean, I have lots of video clips, but I think it'd be great to have an example. So I'm going to screen share it. You get to talk about it. Okay.
Okay.
And we have never done this before. So.
Video.
Oh, this is her video. Okay.
And then we do have, Wendy, we do have one with you. And Sharon is talking and you're throwing some pads down with those two horses in Oregon.
Oh, cool. Great.
Yeah, we have that.
And then I have another one where Sharon is working directly with a horse and you're in the sideline. So we could show a little bit of either
awesome.
Of those as well.
So this is a horse. I don't even remember what this horse is or where this is. I think it's Florida, but it's just a little video clip of a face.
Okay. So right there, what you can see from, if you stop right there.
Yep.
So he's not standing on a pad.
Yeah, I think he is.
Is he standing on a pad?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have the...
You don't have what he's doing. Okay. So, because what he's... Oh,
yeah, this is a horse standing on a pad.
Okay.
And probably on that pair of pads. Yep.
Because where he's at right now in his... The
eyes are
what you can see from the eye is that he's gone internal. What you can see from the ears is that he's assessing where this information is coming from. So when the ears move back and forth, they're scanning, where am I receiving information? Okay, that's what those ears do. But when they're doing it on an internal level, it's also scanning myself. So what this horse is saying is, I'm scanning me, I'm feeling where I'm getting information. And if he has a rider on him while he's doing it, that would make even more sense because he's like, also, what does this have to do with my rider? So he's interpreting two nervous systems at the same time. And there where he's moving his head, and that's a boogeyman. So pause right there. Okay.
Yeah, I'll just
so that was really interesting because that expression right there is him looking for danger. And that's what horses will do right before they go deeper. Okay.
Oh, so they'll scan before they actually let themselves down.
Yes. Yep. They're checking. They're like, can I do this? Is this safe to do? So right there, if the rider knew that, if she had turned and pointed at whatever he looked at, he's not really looking at anything probably, but he's giving the signal of, is this safe? If she had pointed at whatever it was and looked and then relaxed, she would have been saying with her gestures, I see it. Yes, you're safe. Because it's in his mind, probably not really in the environment, but it still has the same gesture to answer it.
So that's really interesting. Let's see, I think.
And there are times too when the horse is going deeper and is starting to really like go internal, and then there's a boogeyman too.
Yep.
So
yep. They start to let go, and it's very, very predictable that they have this boogeyman moment of like, wait a minute, I don't know if this is safe. And there, when he's bobbing back and forth, he's going tail to head to tail to head.
Yep.
In that moment, that's where I have this thing, it's called the buttons. And so it's the interactive zones. Move that up. It's the interactive zones up and down throughout the horse's body, how they communicate to other horses. It's also how they talk to themselves. So when they're flashing information through their own body, you'll see this, and it goes from head to tail. The tail has to have an aha moment. The tail is what registers the feeling about it, right? They demonstrate their
there's
feelings.
a tail right there.
That's right. They demonstrate feelings in the tail because the tail, it goes up when they feel one thing, it goes down. So see, he had a tail gesture, then he had a head gesture. Right. So he's ping-ponging back and forth this information throughout his body and his nervous system, but he's having a feeling about it. And then he had another, that was a little boogeyman moment. So he felt something, he's like, woo, I feel amazing. And then he said, is this safe? And then he went back and then he looked that way again. So now I think in that gesture, because it wasn't a boogeyman gesture, he was actually just looking to the side. I feel like he's isolated where some of his issues are, and it's more on the left side than the right. Right, and now he's boogeyman to the other side. So now he's going to go and check out his other side. And you can see those lips moved a little bit. There's the nostrils. They have a reset right here, GV26. It's an acupuncture point. Right. And it's also where they greet. So when we greet them, they greet here. When they greet each other, they greet there. But when they're resetting the nervous system, when they're going from sympathetic to parasympathetic, this needs to get activated. And you'll see them sometimes rub it on something, or they'll rub it on you. And you'll see right there, it flutters. Yeah. There goes the lips. There's a boogeyman. Is this safe to do? There's the lips, and you'll see, keep going forward a little bit more because you'll see it really shudder. He has a big nostril there. Did you see it?
Yep.
Yeah, so the nostrils went, whoo, and then the whole thing went, and that would be like us going, whoa, we would make a similar gesture, but we would probably have a word with it, which they don't have the word. Right. So right there, he went, whoa, this is so much information to take in.
So I'm going to see if I have a more of a facial. Okay, so here's just another horse.
You can feel that sway.
And it's not unusual to see them blink one eye and then the other.
Yeah,
it's not.
Yeah, because the two hemispheres are, giving and taking. They're reading one side of their body, the other side of the body, and his ears are backwards, so he's concentrating. So backwards, not flat back. Backwards ears means deep concentration. It's like us making a scowl when we're trying to, figure out a math problem, and we make this face. We're not angry. We're just concentrating. So his face is in pure concentration. But if you look at his lip in that last picture before we went, look at from there to the next one.
Oh yeah,
that's the video.
Right there. Look at what his lip did. You see, he made this little thing with his lip right there. So that's the reset. So now he's having that reset, and he's going, whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm feeling it. There goes both eye blinking. There he's licking and chewing. And what that means is that the information has traveled, and he's now able to body scan himself. But a lot of times when horses first do this, they're asking you, do I have permission? This isn't usually what you ask me to do. You don't usually ask me to go internal and tell you what I feel. So I'm not really sure if that's what I should be doing. So they kind of stand there for a minute. And as soon as they realize like, oh, I'm not getting in trouble. Clearly this is what you want. Yeah, I'll body scan. Great. So that's where he went to.
So sometimes I've seen horses literally take their muzzle and dive it into the dirt and just look like they're grazing. So that's a reset?
That's a reset. Yeah.
Let's see.
So if they have an object in front of them, like a big blue barrel, they'll use that, and then they can really massage it because they can get it on the lip of the barrel. So I like doing this kind of integration work where they do have something they can put their nose on. See the tail going.
Yeah.
So he's processing feelings there, and that would to me be stored stress messages.
And this is another, so the horse has moved in between, and then we've come back and put him on pads again, and you can see that there's a lot more swaying.
Yeah.
Video at this point, right? So
Yep.
in the beginning, he was kind of like uncertain, and now he's starting
Right.
to explore a whole lot more.
But as he explores, a lot of those, whatever those pent up emotions are about, I can't say what the emotion is. I can't get that far inside their head, but I can say that they're having them, right? And so I can just say stored emotional stress from whatever, anything at all. And now he just touched his backup button. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you pause right there or go back, the front of his, well, it's actually the front of his elbow. When he touches, it goes from the knee right there. That's the backup. Literally, that's the backup button.
Wow.
And that is what they use to renegotiate, okay, all their feelings. They get back in their body. So if they've been dissociated because of stress, all right, and I don't know, I'm not saying this person is mean to him or any of that stuff. Horses have stress. They come out and they come into our world, and we have stress, and we're riding them, and we've got stress, and they could be taking on our stress.
Or they had an injury. We just
They
met
had
someone,
yeah.
they had, this horse was really, really stressed out, and we're like, has, anything happened? The girl's like, no,
Right.
nothing. And then, oh yeah, 3 years ago,
He
went lame, and she had to literally walk
help
his
his
leg.
leg to get him back
And
inside.
so we assumed that could be part of
Right.
his tension.
So I can't say what, where, why it's particular. I can say that it is emotional stress because of my research. Can't say what motivated it, but my guess, because he's working on renegotiating his physical being, is that he could have stored emotional stress about an old injury or an old illness. But they do also, because of my work with therapy horses, they do take on and absorb some of our, because we're leaders, and if the leader shows up stressed, then we're also telling the horse accidentally, hey, you need to be up here with me.
So the horses, I just want to say about the horses in these videos, these are all going to be students of mine. They've, a lot of these horses I've worked with many times. Some of that one I'd worked with more than once. Some horses I have never worked with until I saw them. So, there's a whole range of backgrounds on these horses, and we can't say any particular it's like, I don't know, it's just like us. I don't know your history when you come.
I don't know the history either.
And so often people, like when I'm doing a riding lesson, I'm like, tell me about your injuries, and they like, oh yeah, well, maybe I had a car accident 20 years ago. And then I start working with them, and they go, oh, I broke my neck yesterday. I forgot to tell you.
Right.
So we have a question here. It'll be great to address, because I'm sure other people have it. So is he feeling this past stress or letting go of it?
Both. So so think of the horse's world as very black and white, okay? When they're on horse time in the field with their buddies, they can return to homeostasis because they're in their environment with their friends. They can go back to a level of what I call zero. It just means homeostasis.
Define homeostasis.
So homeostasis, switching from sympathetic to parasympathetic, going all the way back down to rest and repair. The nervous system is at its most relaxed state. Mind, body, feelings, everything's chill, everything's calm, because the herd makes sense. The herds are stabilizing features in a horse's life. So when he's out in nature with a herd, he can stabilize himself and go back to what would be normal. But when they come into our world, we show up, this is the very first thing I teach people to do is how to get to zero for themselves. At least try, at least aim for it, at least be aware of it. So in our presence, their stress levels go up. And lots of people have done research about this with saliva swabs and looking at cortisol levels and things like that. So in our presence, we show up and we say, I want to do a thing. And they might even like doing the thing. It's not like they don't like it. They're saying, I hate it. They might look for you and say, I love doing the thing. But the energy level, the intensity level goes into activity, which the adrenaline levels, the cortisol levels go up. And so if something happens where two things have happened, maybe he had an injury, he had an illness, something was a little extra stressful, he went to a trainer, didn't like that trainer, whatever, those levels can get up in the presence of a human. The horse doesn't have the capacity to say, oh, let me put on some Eckhart Tolle and calm myself down. I'm going to listen to some Brene Brown and figure out where my boundaries are. Like, he can't do that with us. So this is giving the horse an opportunity to review in their way. And I don't know if it's a memory, if it's a flashback, if it's a felt sense. I can't say that. We haven't put a scan on a horse's brain and kind of isolate all that stuff out.
Oh, I still want to do that.
He's doing it. You got to do that.
I know. I want to do that. I'm working on it. Okay.
Yeah.
I gotta say.
So what we can say is that he's, in some level, his dynamics of his gestures show that he's releasing that intensity. And I have seen in situations where I have a stable mentor horse who's helping me with an unstable, troubled horse. I have seen the unstable, troubled horse do this in the company of the mentor. So I've seen horse-on-horse activity where the mentor is doing certain signals and gestures to help the unstable horse to release. And they do this exact process. So that's how I know what it is.
So we have a great question about horses kept in a single stall, holding more because they never get in a herd to let down. But I want to say something about that, because there are horses that it's whatever you get used to in many ways is what you're used to, right? So there are horses that live in stalls that really like being in stalls. And when you try to turn them out, they don't want to be turned out and they're super stressed in the field. So
wherever they're finding their natural return to zero, most horses prefer that. That's what they want. They want to go back to sort of nature. But you're right. I have a horse who, our joke was that if the world ended, she would run away and find the nearest stall and put herself away.
Right. So, but it's true. And it's like people, some of us really need a lot of companionship and others of us don't. And that's like with the coronavirus outbreak right now, Brad and I are self-isolating, and I am happy as a clam because when I'm home, I self-isolate anyway.
Right.
So, for me, not being around people is not a stress, but for many other people, not being able to be around people is a huge stress. So you have to take each person as an individual, each horse as an individual, and look at how are they in that environment? How are they handling it? How do they react? Look at their facial expression and assess the individual. Right.
It is the individual. And because of, I'm working with some, like you are, I have to draw a median line of, in general, this is where most horses go back and find their zero. But absolutely, I totally agree with you that every horse is an individual, and they all, what is typical, and you do find horses that get better homeostasis with their person, if they have such a deep rapport with that person, they may get more stabilized with their human because they've pair bonded with the human. That happens too. But in general terms, as soon as a person shows up, the horse's stress levels go up as well, which is not necessarily a negative thing, but it is a thing.
Yeah. And then there was also a question, and the answer is yes to this question. Has Sharon exchanged info with Dr. Stephen Peters? And we did actually head out to Oregon together with Wendy, and we had Lucinda Baker, who does ethology with horses and really is into brain studies as well. And so, last year in May, we all did get together and had a really great seminar. It was a few days, and I do have some recordings from Dr. Peters during that time, so we will post some of those things on our Teachable account. So check out.
And if anybody's unfamiliar with Dr. Peters, I did a Zoom meeting with him a couple of weeks ago. It's up on my YouTube channel, Murdoch Method, and he did Brain 101. And I'm just starting to talk about the horse's brain, and we're gonna continue those conversations. So go check that video out. Do you want to share some of the video from last May where we were together?
Sure. So just give me one moment. Let's see.
Very exciting, Wendy, those two videos.
So I have.
Yeah. I have so many videos, and like having you like watch them and put words to it is, that's the thing, is I didn't notice he hit the backup button. I just saw him, you know, touch his chest. I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, what's really cool is there's a horse that was riding with me, and I do, you've seen my work, you've seen how you described it as a little bit like Feldenkrais for the horse. And I had a horse come up to a barrel and start bumping her backup button at the barrel, and then rocking backwards, and then bumping it, and then rocking backwards. And she, you know, the horse took agency because we showed her how to do the therapy backup.
right.
And she took agency and said, you know what, I like that so much, I'm just going to self-serve here.
Yeah. And actually, that's the same thing with surefoot pads, is that you see horses, once they understand them, they will go and seek them out. They'll try and get on them themselves, or they'll be just showing you which foot they want. So again, I think that's a great word, self-agency. And that's a lot what the surefoot offers, because it's an offer, it's not a demand. So in the background of this video you guys are going to show is I'm working with the other horse with the surefoot pad. So I didn't get to see Sharon work. Just
Yeah.
It's supposed to be the first
And
time
this,
too.
one of these, well, just a little information. One of the owners here was a veterinarian, and they did a lot of trailering these horses around and going for rides. This is a little bit more out west, where you can do that kind of thing. You can have these like long, glorious rides. And they're really great owners. They really care about their horses and invested in the horses' well-being. And the horses are really, you know, good horses. The one that Wendy's working with had started opening up, and so some of the stuff he started demonstrating was levels of stress. And then it turned out I forget what his medical stuff, he had something going on. And so I don't remember exactly what it was. And they've been working on it, but when he got to you and the surefoot pad, some really fascinating stuff happened. But I took his buddy over here, and because his buddy didn't want to leave him because he kind of took care of him. And so I took the buddy and I set up what's called a safety object. And horses will make their own safety object. They can even use a pile of poop to make a safety object. They'll poop in an area they've decided this is my safe zone. And you'll see them sometimes go put their nose on something for a long time and linger there. That's another way for them to say, this is a safety zone. This is the object I'm relating to my safety zone. And so like what Wendy was saying before, where some horses normalize in their stall, that's because they get into their stall and they go, this is my safety zone. I'm in my safe house. So you can artificially create a safety zone for them, understanding that this is something that they have the capacity to do. So I got the cone, and you bring them to it, you walk away, you bring to it, you walk away. And basically I'm saying, this is your safety spot, so that he could relax, because horses are never away from each other in their mind. And he could see his buddy was going through something and he was getting stressed. So by having each of them have their own relaxation, like spa day, they both benefited. So I was doing my thing, she was doing her thing, but they're still aware of each other. So we'll just go ahead and watch. I haven't watched this in a million years. So.
Since we're in it.
Since I was in it.
All right, it should hopefully work.
It should be playing. We could.
Oh, here we go.
And just mute the volume so that we don't have to. Yes. All right, so here I've got the safety. I don't know what my plan was, so watch it with you. Oh, I threw it, right. So this is a great way to say, let's go there. And that's a check-in. So remember how they reset on their muzzles? That's also how they reset with you. A lot of horses are reaching around to touch. All they want is for your knuckle. They just want to touch you. It'd be like a check-in with someone going, hey, are you ready for this thing? They don't have hands, but they use this for their connection place. So I went to the cone. I'm saying, this is a nice place to be. I'm going to hang out here. I'm going to stand sideways. I'm going to relax. I do head bobbing, which is a way to signal you can let go. He looked when I looked. He's got his ear back on his other friend there. I'm looking away. I'm taking some breaths. I'm talking to the people. So he looks at what I'm pointing at. And then he looks back at his friend. So he gets it that I'm doing some in-charge behaviors. And he says, okay, I guess if you're going to be in charge, I could step towards this safety object. And then I step away as he's coming in so he can have it. So I'm not saying this is for him. I mean, this is for me. I'm saying this is for you. And then I go back to talking to there goes his tail. So he just processed all that information. There goes the tail. That's basically him saying, I feel pretty good about this.
And just as a side note, folks, that all the little pieces of tape are all the 13 buttons. There isn't one at the corner of the mouth, which we label as the play button, but you can see, and someone had asked the question about the backup button. You can see it's labeled right here. Okay, sorry.
That's good. No, I'm glad you did that. Unless a piece of duct tape had fallen off, which sometimes that happens. So here, what I'm doing is giving him a space to be where he can go deeper. And if you look at his posture, there's a lick and chew. Now he looked away a little bit because there's a boogeyman, because when he relaxed, he also looked at boogeyman. He's the horse who monitors and takes care of things. So for him to let go is a big deal, all right? And so I gave him even more space because I caught the gesture and said, yeah, I'll get out of your space even more. So that's how big this horse's bubble is. I'm using the limit of the lead rope to determine how much bubble space does he need to feel that he can really deepen his relaxation. And so Wendy has done her thing over there to do some surefoot stuff. Now she's walking him off so he can have an experience. You should talk about that, Wendy. The experience that you like them to have after standing on the surefoot.
So I always, not all horses, because your sore horses or your older laminitic or arthritic horses don't want to do it, but normally I want to walk the horse off so that he integrates that packet of information. So it's just like us. You gather a little piece of information by standing on the pads for a couple of minutes, and then it's about taking the information back to the ground, how your foot meets the ground. So while I think of it as like standing on the pad is uploading, and then walking off is processing.
Oh, good.
Can you answer this question, Sharon? We have, are they backing up to the stressor? She had questions about the backup button.
Oh, no. Backing up, it would be, the gesture is, how we would translate it is, I'm feeling back in my body now. I'm feeling better now. I'm getting backing up into myself now, instead of being like all in my head. All like, go, 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 go. It's sort of a soothing self gesture, but it's specifically related to taking information back into the body and having a different emotional experience.
So Sharon, can you describe what just happened? Like when the horse I was leading came back to the pads, the horse
go back.
holding.
And also Sharon had her core on the horse that she's working with. And as soon as she turned her core off of him, he then had stepped up to the.
Explain what you're talking about there.
Okay, so well, I'm going to look at Wendy's horse.
Okay. So,
okay.
So much is happening.
I know. So he's on that pad, and it's interesting. He sniffed the back of your neck. Specifically, that is a gesture that they use with each other when they're saying, "You're my friend. You don't bite me."
Yeah.
Okay. So they'll sniff neck on another horse because they'll bite neck on a horse if they're like, "Get the hell out of here!" Right?
Oh, and he just yawned. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So he sniffed your neck, and he's going, "You're my friend. You don't bite." And then he could release more. So for him, for his personality, he's not as much looking for, "Are you going to protect me from the boogeyman?" He's more saying, "You directly. You're a nurturer. I feel nurtured by you." So that was that message. So then you put him on that pad. And this is fascinating. I just love this part where they're trying out different pads. And right there, he's bending. So he's really bringing that information all the way through the arc. And Wendy, you're better at describing that than I am, about a correct bend through the horse's body and how they use their rib cage. And
yeah, because bend actually, it comes from the rib cage. But what was really interesting is, like, some people say that the horse paws at the pad and he's saying he doesn't want it. But in that case, that horse was saying, "I want it under that foot." And sometimes they'll actually paw the pad back to the back foot, and people are thinking, "Oh, he's rejecting it." It's like, no, he's telling you where he wants it. So we have to be careful about the interpretation when they kick the pads around. A lot of times they're actually trying to direct us in the best way they know how.
Yeah, and they're very black and white. Their gestures usually mean exactly what they mean. We do interpretation, like, you know what I mean? We interpret, we extrapolate way too much. If they push it backwards towards the back foot, they're literally pushing it backwards towards the back foot.
Yeah.
You know, or they're playing with it, like, because if I stand like this on it, or like this, or like this, or like this, or like this, I've got a different rotation through my shoulder depending on what I did. So when he's exploring that, he's like, which one do I want to do? Screw it, I don't want to do this foot. I actually want it on the back foot. And I love that you picked up the pads and walked with him, because then you limited some of his choices, so he could have, these are the pads he picked, because he was interested, and then he brought him down there to put him in a different place. I'm assuming you're doing that to give him a fresh look at it, to give him a fresh experience.
I love how his friend looks at him.
I think it was also because he was so stuck to his friend that I was then going to take the, and I don't know, maybe they act like it's a safety cone, right? That's one of the things with the pads, is it becomes that safe zone, like what you've built with this horse with a cone. And I'm just moving it to another location so that I'm just saying all of this space is okay. You can be in all of this space and feel good.
That's right. And his friend agreed with it. Now you see how he had a little jolt through his whole body, the horse you're working with?
I missed it. I was looking at your horse.
Okay, I know this is, so his whole body went joink like that. And that's a symptom of that nervous system not quite being able to downshift.
There it was.
Did you see it that time?
Yeah, it was a little jerky.
Yeah. So that is it's like a little electric charge, because his overall posture is starting to go into what I call O posture. It's like it's a skeleton reframe, like their skeleton is dropping. All the bones that go up when they're ready to run start coming down. And he's going into that, but he hit a level and like the electricity went zoop. Zoop.
Well,
like
and there it's really nice because he let his neck down. Do you remember the history on this horse?
No. I know there was something, he had some, they did x-rays and something.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, and he was just really anxious by himself and really had a hard time being separated from his friend.
Yeah, we had to bring him in because Sharon was just going to work with this guy, but then he was not happy.
He was not happy by himself.
So I do have another video that is, the two horses are loose. Whoops, wrong button. Sorry, folks.
It's okay.
Just give me 1 second.
Hey, here we are again.
Here we go. All right, we're going to go back.
So I didn't realize that there was a limit of 100 participants on the Zoom meeting. So we've been at 100, and obviously I'm going to post this, but then I'll try and, just so you know, I guess I have to upgrade to another level.
Yeah.
Well, I did a quick email to folks about this thing. Sorry, I'm just rewinding really quick.
So now this is with the black horse, the one
this
that
is
you
with
have.
the one with the buttons on.
Right. So this was before we separated them, I believe.
This was at the end.
This was at the end.
This is the end? Okay, this is
after. So now what the black horse just said to the other horse is, this safety cone is great. You can hang it. And so the other horse had to circle it and look at it from every angle and go, yeah, that's a great safety cone. I love that. And then you're like, guess what? These Surefoot pads are great too.
Oh, so that's what it's because I remember the black horse had not been on the pads and he wanted to know what it was going to be about. He watched the other horse.
Yeah. So he gave the safety cone to the other horse so that he could have a safe place to be. And the black horse is like, yeah, my turn. I want those things.
Yeah, because the other horse is lined up basically at his girth button to the cone. So that's the
he has his line up at the cone. The other horse, if you could imagine a down shot, the other horse's girth is aimed at the cone like this. So it's line up, and he's got his nose aimed at the hip of his leader, so he's follow. So he's got himself protected this way, and he knows who he's following this way, so he can just relax. So basically, the black horse gave him some crayons and said, could you just color for a few minutes? I love that.
I think there I kind of moved so that he would not, because see, he started to bother his friend a little bit.
Yeah. And what he's doing there is he can tell his friend is going internal, and he's sniffing the hind end. Am I still supposed to follow you? Or should I, because if you go away, if you go internal, I don't have you anymore. And so are you still there? Are you still there? Are you still there? Are you still there? Like that is what he was saying. So when you said, he's still here, you're fine. I'm here too. The cone's here too. He actually looked at the cone. See that? When you came over, he looked at the cone. Oh, she says I can't have him. I have to have my cone. So I love watching. Oh yeah, that was a good one, because that went right through his body real quick.
Yep. And there I just kind of said, leave him alone. Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, would you just have your crayons already? It's not safe. See, when he looks around, that's the sentry look. It's not safe here. It's all cold and lonely by myself. So that's just interesting to notice how their dynamic is. And the black horse knows he's going to be okay. The black horse also knows that you're being big mama and telling him, just go to you're fine,
Yeah.
right? And there goes the tail. So the tail lift like that on the black horse, that's a really good sign. So whatever emotional content, you know, stressors, stress memories, they could be pain stress memories, like the memory of pain, right? Or it could be emotional stress memories, but they show up there. And well, he just let them go. So that you gotta feel it to heal it is what they say, right?
Right.
So the same is true for them. They gotta feel it to heal it. But
plus he has to babysit his friend.
plus he has to babysit.
Yeah, that was the thing, is he had to babysit all the time, and so he didn't get to, you know.
And I think I might be coming in to say, let me deal with the youngster. So I said, come and be with me. So I checked in with him and I looked around and he dropped his head immediately. So, and then he said, but I want my friend. I want you and my friend. I want both of you. And so I'm saying, okay, I'm going to guard you. I'm going to protect you. I'm looking around at all the danger. Now I'm going to ask you to back away a step and I'm using backup button.
Yep.
So he gets in himself. So it's not just stopping him from doing what he's doing. I'm addressing his anxiety by touching backup button.
And going for the bridge of the nose.
And going for the bridge of the nose. Bridge of the nose is often, you'll see, it's a soft correction measure. Mothers will do it to their colts. You know how, especially being the scientist, how sensitive the bones of the nose are.
Yeah.
So when you touch those bones on the nose and you're very soft with them, and see, he yawned there, that's good. You're saying, I've got you and I've got all of you. Because if you touch here, you can access the entire skeleton.
Yes.
Right here. These guys, look at this little bone. Of course we have a horse head.
Yeah.
It's sensitive and you have to use it very gently.
This is George.
So this is what I'm doing to him, and I'm doing that.
Yep, and see how that even it's going to affect the Atlanto-occipital joint.
Exactly. And then if you do this little gentle rocking,
yep,
and it encourages, and they want to do that same thing. They want to just.
Well, and you'll see a lot of horses on surefoot pads that do a little gentle head rocking.
They do.
Video. It's very common and it's very interesting. It's this little head rock, I guess.
Right.
Yep.
And so this is exactly the same thing. You'll see them do, and you'll also see.
Whoa.
Ready? You got him.
Yeah.
You got it.
Don't lose, George.
I'm gonna jolt this a little bit. All right, because all those nerves, all those cranial nerves in the face, there's so many of them in the face and the tongue, right? And then you've got the vagal nerve going down into the body. And when they start to readjust, you'll see this kind of activity. And there's so much that needs to happen. And you can explain this better than I can, because I'm not a specialist on all the specific bones and stuff. But from where the head attaches to the neck, and then how that moves through the back into the sacral joint.
Well, you're accessing all the way through the spine. You can access all the way through the spine from the nose.
Cranial sacral.
Cranial sacral.
Yep.
So let's go back and watch them again, because it's really interesting when you hold the skull and do the computer. And
yeah. And somebody asked
right there.
Let's see, is it
right here?
Yeah.
One of our horses is on the pads. The rest gather and start yawning and blinking. Yes, you can definitely have herd effect with just putting one horse on pads. Absolutely. In fact, you have group effect. So when I do surefoot workshops, by about 3 o'clock, after about 2 hours of putting horses on pads, everybody's so doped up that I gotta stop.
Yeah. And so see the high tail lift there on the black horse? Yep. So I asked the more nervous, the insecure horse to deal with getting back in himself. The black horse relaxed, released, and then actually said to him, hey, you need to, I want you to kind of give me more room. I'm demanding that you give me more space now. So I want access to this Sharon or these pads, because he kind of made him go away from the pads there. So like if we would come back in at that moment, he was able to take a little bit more of a higher level of control of his body, which he didn't want to do before because he didn't want to upset him. So they're both normalizing, and he can actually take a better tack in the relationship. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's the end.
That's the end.
I think we have, let me just stop this. I'm going to double check. You can keep talking.
Well, here, I could just throw up another I can screen share.
Yeah.
Let's see if where's my videos?
No,
I thought I put all my videos in one file to make this easy. Yeah.
Well, so that was neat. So when
they're not watching. I'll show.
Oh, okay.
We got something,
Screen
Wendy.
share again?
Yeah, just a
Okay,
sec.
go for it.
It's just kind of neat, but whatever.
You're
I'm happy to
sharing
look at your stuff.
We're sharing each other's work. Let's see. Here we go. Okay.
Well, where was the other one where they were loose?
I thought we were just looking at this.
No, the one where I turned around and did a go away face like this in the air. Why don't you throw one of yours up, Wendy?
Okay. Sorry. No problem.
Okay.
This is just a random video. Yeah, drop the sound out. This
look
was
at the nostrils.
Huh?
Right away. Look at that. If you go back and forth with the facial expression, real slow. I like that you can do that. Look at that. Look at the nostrils, the lips, the lick and chew, and that point between the nostrils.
Tons of quivering there.
And at the same time, the eyes and the ears. This is all the nerves of the head are doing something.
Yep. And this horse, I mean, you'll see these nostrils like this with horses very commonly. Like he has not been doing much of anything other than some walking, right? But you'll see nostril flare, super common, like really big flare. Sometimes one nostril gets way bigger than the other.
Yeah. And this is indicative of the kind of breath that they're doing. Horses use their breath as part of their messaging system. Because if you're a prey animal, you want to take advantage of all the quiet messages you can possibly be giving. Because you don't want to draw, you don't want to let the predators know where you are. So they use breath messages. So in that case, he's using breath messages about himself.
Okay, it's just another horse.
Oh, that's a good rock back right there. Do you see that?
Yep, we'll do it again because I was messing with the sound.
See that? He rocks all the way back. That's another feature of the backup button. He's got a blanket on and stuff.
It's
that's another feature of that rock back. It's
but
like,
you see that little head twist? I'll slow it down.
Yep.
Actually, you can probably see it if I go backwards.
Yeah, and there's the lips.
There, that little head twist. Yeah. That's super common. What is that?
That's what we were just doing with the skull, where he's micro-adjusting his atlas and his occipital region, and he's micro-adjusting that, but he's also, look at how tight the back of his jaw is. So any TMJ, any stuff that's habituated holding, right, the hyoid, so any stuff where they've gotten into a habit of holding here, that they can release that themselves. So if he's got like a bad tooth or something, he's limited is what or if he's got, sort of a bad angle where he really needs an osteopath or a chiropractor. But there's a lot of stuff that horses will release themselves when they given a chance to know about it. And I think one of the things you and I talked about with Dr. Peters was something about, since when horses are first born, the first 1 to 3 years of life, their brain's main focus is balance, mobility, proprioception.
Just like people.
Just like people. So that's the main focus. They're not even ready. This is what I remember him saying. Brain is not ready for focus and concentration until between like 3 and 4 for most horses.
Yep. And so, a lot of these horses, it's just like people. They have habits, and it may have come from having bad teeth. It doesn't mean that the horse has a tooth problem or a foot problem right now. But once you develop a habit, if you don't do something about that habit, you still got that habit, right?
Right. And this is something, because you do Feldenkrais and you've taught me a few things where I had some body habits, and I'm one of those people that you're like, what's going on in your neck? I don't know. Oh yeah, when I was 20, I broke it. I forgot that I broke my neck.
And so that's what I'm trying to say is that with Surefoot, what we see is a release of a lot of old habits. It doesn't mean that they have something acute going on, although a horse may. Right. But typically we're looking at, because most of our clients, are really conscientious about their horses, but they've gotten this horse and who knows where it's come from or what its life was like when it was younger. And so now here they are, and what we're trying to do is help them optimize.
Yep. Exactly. And so a horse, my opinion, having worked with rehab horses, a horse who has limited mobility becomes very emotionally stressed. So
same with people.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
And we're the same, really.
Yeah.
So sometimes, well, the reason I'm saying that is sometimes when horses hold a lot of emotional tension in their pelvis, it's really about their story. It's not really about what the person has done or is doing. Maybe there's an old story like the original trainer or something like that. But a lot of times, if they've been through a physical trauma, they've been through an illness, they've got lack of mobility for some reason, or they've gotten into a weird habit, they become emotionally stressed about that because that's their mechanism for staying alive. So we get stressed about it too because we get irritated. So like, gosh darn it, I can't make a sandwich the way I used to. But a horse, because they're in a direct experience of their life. If I'm not mobile, I could get dead.
Right.
That's their coronavirus, you know? They're like,
well, and this is something, you know, like so often people want to make people and horses so different in the way we look at them. But I don't know if I probably haven't told you about my my little analogy for understanding vagus and the similarity between horses and people. And it's basically like, you know, if you have a significant other who has a boss, and suddenly you find out you have to go to a dinner party at the boss's house, and oh, by the way, your significant other is going to get hauled off into a meeting the minute he walks in the door, what's the first thing you try to do? Get out of going.
yeah.
Right? What's the first thing the horse tries to do is get out of going, right? And so then the next thing is, all right, you have to put on your makeup and you got to get your dress out of the closet and you go to the party. And the next thing you do is you scan for the exits. Like, where can I get out of this party? What's the minimum amount of time I have to spend, right? And then the next thing is you walk in and you go to the bar and have a drink. Well, the horses can't have a drink, right? They can't do that. So they're going to flock. They're going to go, there's a friend, there's a horse. And what do? We find somebody at the party that 5 years ago we met at a horse show because nobody else there is a horse person. And we flock to our friends that know horses. And then what we do is we go to the snack table and we graze. And what do horses want to do? They want to graze to reset, right?
That's
we do the same things. And then of course there's always the person that's so not okay that they fool around. And what do we have? We have the horse that fools around because he's so not okay.
Exactly.
And that's his distractive mechanism. Robin Hood coined the phrase domesticated flight for food. Right. And so we just do this because we're so uncomfortable. But, you know, when we start to realize, wow, I hate to go to those dinner parties and have to get dressed up and have my tack put on and somebody's going to stare at me and then somebody's going to tell me I'm not doing it right. You know, we're going to have that same vagal, I'm not safe response as the horse. And since we're both mammals, we all have this vagus response. And so it's super important to recognize, how would you feel in that environment if you were that horse? And I think with that understanding, you can start to relate to them in a way that recognizes what you have to do is make them feel safe and comfortable. And the minute we start to recognize what they want is to feel safe and that we can help them feel safe, then they're going to start to trust us and we can improve this relationship.
Yeah.
By understanding the buttons, the encoding and decoding that you do, it helps us recognize when the horse is not feeling safe, when he is feeling safe, when he's processing information, when he's trying to work something out, or when we've done something that actually he's gone, wow, that's really feeling good. I didn't know how to do that. Can you do that? Like the backup button. Can you do that again? So that's really what it's about for me is recognizing our similarities. And that's also with all these Zoom message meetings, is recognizing our similarities and how can we come to this place of understanding to make everyone feel okay so that we can all learn and grow together.
Exactly. Beautifully said.
Yeah. And with that, we have 2 minutes left. So what's your, you know, I haven't thought about this, but what's the most important thing to you right now?
Well, I just wanted to add one thing, which is, you know, our horses here, of course, we talk to them all the time. And I had someone come do a cranial sacral treatment on one of my horses that has, you know, a history of physical issues. And in the middle of receiving the treatment, which she's standing in a field, saying, yeah, no halter, nothing, she was having a hard time releasing. So in the middle of getting her treatment, she's still having a hard time so I said to her, boogeyman, and then I put up my palm to say, I've got you. And that was all it took for her to go, okay, I'm safe. So even in this dynamic, wonderful relationship, sometimes you need that little extra. And what I wanted to add about your work is that I love the way horses say, this is a safety object. They do turn the surefoot pads into a safety object. And then they say, not only is it a safety object, I get to renegotiate me. And you're going to watch, and you're going to be here for me while I renegotiate me. So even if you don't know any horse speak, but you put your horse on some surefoot pads, by the fact that you've done it, you're setting up some of these guidelines.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just love the power of the palm, folks, like using your palm
without touching,
just from
in the air,
10, 15 feet away. You can wave your hand over all of the buttons and watch those micro gestures, just as you saw with the horses on Wendy's surefoot pads, that, you know, you are actually making an influence on the horse as soon as you show up into their personal space.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, you know, we're getting comments here. People want us to do this every day. I don't think we can do it quite that often, but I'd certainly love to do this again.
Yeah, definitely
do it again for sure.
It's really fun. And for anybody who has not read Sharon's book, it's called Horse Speak. You can find it. Where you got a copy right there?
Got Horse Speak.
Yep.
You got Horses in Translation.
Yep. You got DVD.
DVD, it's on the floor.
DVD. Yeah. And we have webinars available, folks. Sharon's launching on April 15th, a horse personality webinar. So that is going to be great based on the different roles. She was talking about a joker, there's peacemaker. So it's going to be really awesome if you're interested in finding out what energy type and personality type your horse is.
Awesome.
So, yeah. And if you're in Germany, we do have Germany. We got Horse Speak in German and Horse in Translation in German. And then Horse Speak is available in Japanese too, if you're interested in reading Japanese.
It's in Italy and French and
Polish will be coming out.
Polish and Netherlands. Yeah, so
yeah, Dutch. Yeah, let's.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks so much for joining.
Yeah, thank you, Wendy.
Thank you
Stay
so much.
safe.
Thank you all for coming out to visit.
And
have a great day, everyone.
we'll talk again soon. Okay.
All right. Take
Bye.
care. Bye.